The recovery chamber aboard the Aurelian outpost pulsed with a serene rhythm, as if the walls themselves were breathing in time with the patients. To them.The, it felt less like a deep space infirmary and more like a luxurious retreat for the galaxy's chosen few. Waves of turquoise and emerald light glided over crystalline wall panels, each shift in hue tailored to calm the nervous systems of dozens of species. The air carried a faint metallic tang blended with a sweet alien fragrance he couldn't identify, but it sank into him like warmth after a long winter. "Stay still," murmured Mayra Solari for the fourth time, her opalescent fingers adjusting the regenerative mesh over his ribcage. Her movements were deliberate, almost ritualistic, as though wound care was an art form she refused to perform without perfection. The fine arcs of her silver-tipped ears leaned forward. Something Callan had learned meant she was focusing so intently that the rest of the universe might as well not exist. He tried to shift into a less awkward position on the grav bed, but she gave him a look that froze him in place. "The nanites are working fine," he began, but she cut him off with eyes like molten platinum. "Those nanites are designed for baseline Terran biology. Your exposure to hyperwave radiation requires custom care. Bandage placement alters lymphatic drainage by 7.3%, a number I will not ignore." Callan couldn't help but watch her, though not because of the medical lecture. It was the way she moved. Mayra's people, the Illyrian, were known for their grace, but she carried herself like the stars themselves had choreographed her hands. When she leaned closer, that strange floral scent surrounded him, warm and intoxicating. "There," she said, stepping back. "Cellular regeneration will finish in 6 hours. No sudden movements, no shuttle racing, and absolutely no shortcuts through debris fields." "Yes, dear," Callan muttered without thinking, the phrase slipping out like muscle memory, one he'd used on his mother, his grandmother, and every well-meaning soul who fussed over him since childhood. Mayra froze, her expression softening into something radiant. "Then it is sealed," she whispered. Before he could ask what that meant, every Illyrian medic in the chamber turned toward them and bowed, emitting soft trills that his translator rendered as blessings for joy, prosperity, and fertility. "What exactly just happened?" Callan asked. "You have honored me greatly," Mayra replied, a rare flicker of vulnerability in her voice. "I had hoped, but I did not dare to assume." An elder Illyrian approached, her amethyst skin etched with the years. "May your bond bring harmony and strength," she said solemnly. Callan blinked. "Bond? I just agreed my bandages were fine." Mayra tilted her head, utterly serious. "You spoke the sacred acceptance phrase in our language in the presence of witnesses. That is how Illyrian unions are formed." She gestured to the other medics still watching with knowing smiles. "Did you not realize I've been courting you these past 3 cycles?" Callan's mind stuttered. "Courting? I thought you were just thorough." She explained with patient dignity, the extra pillow adjustments, the personal calibration of his nutrient drip, the obsessive monitoring of his vitals, all acts of romantic devotion among her kind. He tried not to laugh at the absurdity, but when her ears drooped at his hesitation, something in him shifted. He saw not just the healer, but the person, kind, meticulous, and fiercely loyal. "I didn't know there was an offer on the table," he admitted. "But now I do, so tell me, how does an Illyrian bond actually work?" Her ears lifted again. "It is simple. Words of acceptance before witnesses bind 2 souls for life, sharing resources, protecting one another above all else, and pledging emotional fidelity. Also," she added with a small smile, "I would be obligated to stop you from doing anything catastrophically reckless, like, for example, racing through debris fields." He smirked. "That sounds like a threat." "It's a promise," she replied, her smile bright as starlight. The elder cleared her throat from across the chamber. "If I may, Mayra has turned down 19 formal proposals in the last 5 years. Her standards are exacting." Callan raised an eyebrow, oddly flattered. "So what made a half-broken pilot worth the risk?" "You said please when I told you to hold still," she said softly, "and thank you when I explained the treatment. And you asked about my homeworld because you were truly curious, not to impress me with false knowledge. Politeness and sincerity are rarer than pulsar pearls in this galaxy." That night, the medbay dimmed into simulated twilight, the light panels glowing faintly like distant constellations. Most patients were gone, leaving only the hum of life support and the steady rhythm of Callan's heartbeat. He should have been sleeping, but instead he found himself watching Mera work quietly at her station, wondering if the accidental promise he'd made was perhaps the smartest mistake of his life. And just before sleep finally took him, a thought struck like a meteor. Tomorrow, he would ask her, not about the bond, not about the customs, but about her favourite place on her homeworld. If he was going to stumble into marriage, he might as well start planning their first trip together. As the station's hum settled into a steady pulse, Draven Thale sat quietly in his recovery pod, his mind wrestling with the day's bewildering events. Across the medical bay, Ceres Kale was immersed in updating patient logs, her lavender silhouette elegant even in the mundane task of data entry. "You don't have to stick around," Draven called softly. "I'm not going to keel over or explode in the next 8 hours." Ceres glanced up, her silver eyes shimmering under the soft glow of the bioluminescent panels. "Double shift," she replied calmly. "Elder Marn believed it best for me to personally oversee your recovery, given our new situation." Draven chuckled nervously. "So, everyone's convinced we're actually betrothed now? Are we?" The question floated light, but carried the weight of confusion beneath. Ceres approached, her steps measured. "Betrothal is a formal term. Among my people, it means choosing a partner for the journey ahead. And what journey might that be?" Draven asked, curiosity sharpening his tone. She settled beside him, the chair creaking softly under her. "That depends on what you want from life. My current assignment ends in 6 months. After that, I may transfer to any medical facility in the sector. Or I might accept the role of Chief Medical Officer aboard the exploration vessel Helios. They're heading on a 5-year survey through the Perseus Arm." 5 years stuck with someone you accidentally proposed to, Draven mused with a grin. Ceres smiled. "It's a long time, yes, but the Helios also needs skilled pilots for hazardous navigation." Despite his best efforts to stay detached, Draven felt a spark ignite. "Hazardous navigation is my specialty, or at least surviving it is." Ceres's lips curled in a dry smile. "Your medical files are quite the read. 17 incidents of what you call creative problem solving and what Starfleet terms miraculous survival despite recklessness." "That's oddly specific," he protested. "I prefer intuitive 3-dimensional thinking," Draven replied, "like flying through a meteor storm during a gravitational tempest." "That's Tuesday for you," Ceres said, shaking her head but smiling. "You're going to give me stress-induced molting patterns." "That sounds painful. Terribly itchy," she agreed. They lapsed into a comfortable silence, the dimmed lights casting a gentle glow around them, cocooning them in a quiet intimacy far from the bustle of the station. Draven studied Ceres's profile, the delicate arch of her cheekbones, the subtle twitch of her ears when she was deep in thought. "Tell me about your homeworld," he finally said. "Zephyria Prime," she began, voice soft and nostalgic. "Mostly ocean, with crystal cities rising like coral reefs from the seafloor, connected by tunnels that follow thermal currents. Our hospitals blend seamlessly into the living ecosystems. We believe true healing thrives in harmony with nature." "That sounds beautiful." "It is. Sometimes too peaceful for someone who dreams of the stars," she confessed, glancing at him. "What about Earth? Your files say it's your origin, but you've been in deep space for 8 years. Draven smiled wistfully. "Earth's crowded, loud. People think the riskiest thing is taking the express elevator. I love it, but I can't breathe there anymore. Too much gravity, not enough sky." "So we're both chasing something," Ceres observed. "Seems like it." He met her gaze. "Would we be working together on the Helios mission?" "Medical bay and bridge coordination is essential on surveys," she said carefully. "We'd be in frequent contact. And if this accidental engagement becomes real, we'd share quarters, coordinate shifts, explore uncharted worlds in our downtime." She smiled slyly. "Assuming you survive my supervision and I survive your flying." Draven laughed. "When you put it that way, it sounds almost reasonable." By the time his discharge papers arrived, Draven had made up his mind. He found Ceres in the medical supplies closet, meticulously inventorying the shelves. The sterile scent mixed with that elusive floral aroma that clung to her hair. "So," he began, leaning casually against the doorframe, "about our accidental engagement." She looked up, expression carefully neutral. I realized something important, he continued, stepping fully inside, noticing how her pupils dilated as he drew closer. I've never had anyone care for me like you do. Not because it's their job, but because they want to make sure I'm okay. You stayed late monitoring my sleep because you feared nightmares from the crash. You programmed the replicator to make tea that tastes like home because you sensed my homesickness. You've cared for me in ways no medical protocol covers. Her cheeks flushed a deep violet. Perhaps I've grown fond of you. Fond enough to tolerate your questionable life choices for the next 5 years. She whispered, Are you formally accepting the bond? Instead of answering, Draven reached for her hands, noting how perfectly they fit his despite their different anatomies. Cirrus Kale of the Zephyria Medical Corps, he said solemnly, would you honor me by monitoring my health personally for the rest of our lives? Her smile lit the room. Yes, dear, she replied, and this time they both understood exactly what it meant. From beyond the supply closet, soft trills of approval echoed as the other nurses celebrated their colleagues' happiness. In that small antiseptic-scented room, surrounded by bandages and medkits, Draven discovered that sometimes the best relationships begin in the most unexpected places. There is one condition, Ceres said, pulling a small crystal pendant from her neck. This charm is traditionally given by healer to patient to promote continued wellness. She fastened it around his neck. The crystal was warm against his skin. If I keep it instead of passing it on, it means I intend to stay close enough to watch over you. If I give it back, it becomes a bond token, signifying formal commitment according to our customs. Draven lifted the pendant and carefully placed it around her neck, the crystal resting against her lavender skin like it belonged there. I'll need careful monitoring, he said with a wry smile. Trouble tends to find me. I've noticed, she whispered, rising on tiptoes to press a gentle kiss to his lips. Good thing I love a challenge. As they stood bathed in the soft blue glow of the medical bay where their story began, Draven thought that for a marriage proposal made accidentally under alien painkillers, this was exactly the kind of adventure he had always been searching for.